You're welcome to my channel. So we are still continuing with topic 2, auditing, and we are going to look at the familiarity threats in this video. Familiarity, it's when you are used to something. That's what we call like being familiar with something. So in this video we are going to look at the familiarity threats. There are only two. There are only two. So we shall look at the threat, its effect, and then the safeguard to the threats. So the first one is employment with an audit client of a former senior member of the audit team as a chief finance officer, where there are significant connections like unpaid benefits. Like the examples that we were using in the previous videos were the client is MTN and then the audit firm is KPMG. So if one employee, like he or she was working formally with with KPMG, he was working with KPMG as one of the senior members on the audit team, but then after some time they shift and they start working with MTN, and maybe they are working as the chief finance officer of MTN. Yeah, so there will be a familiarity threat because they were working with KPMG and it's KPMG that is coming to like evaluate what they have been doing at MTN. You get that? Like they were working with KPMG and they crossed over, so they are familiar with the audit team already. So the effect that it has, first, is that the senior audit staff is familiar with the audit procedures since they were working with KPMG, the same audit firm that is coming to audit where they are working right now. So they are already familiar with the audit procedures, so they can easily influence or they can easily manipulate things. Then another effect is that staff may sympathize with their former colleague, like that KPMG staff that will come to audit MTN, where one of their former colleague is working. They might sympathize with that person, and in case they find an error or something wrong, they may not point it out just because they know the other person. Then another effect is that auditors may try to impress a future employer. Like since MTN has employed their colleague, other members on the audit team will have a feeling that maybe they can also be employed in future by MTN. So they may try to impress a future employer. So that is the first threat, employment with an audit client of a former senior member of the audit team as a chief finance officer. So the safeguards to this threat, like how it can be avoided or how it can be like limited. First one is that staff should notify the audit firm when entering employment negotiations with the client. Like in case one is being employed in case you've been working with KPMG and you're now getting a job with MTN, you should first notify where you've been working. You should first notify that like KPMG before you shifting. Then modify the audit plan, like change the audit procedures, how you've been doing the work, so that the other member is not familiar with what you are doing. Then another safeguard is that assign individuals to the audit team with sufficient experience in relation to the one who has joined the client. So in case the other member was a senior member, so you assign people like who are more experienced or experienced like him to be the ones to evaluate his work. Then another one is that get an independent partner to review the work of that former member, like someone who is maybe from a different firm or someone who is not on the team. Then lastly is that an engagement partner, that is a member of the audit team for a public interest entity, should not is being a key audit partner before the entity has audited financial statements covering a period of not less than 12 months. So those are the safeguards to that familiarity threat of employment with an audit client of a former senior member as a chief finance officer. Then the second threat, the second familiarity threat, is a senior personnel auditing a client for very many years. Like if you work with the same person for very many years, or if you work with the same audit firm for very many years, you will get familiar with everything. Yeah, and that can impair their objectivity, because now you are like friends or family, something like that. So the effect that it will have is that auditors may become very close to the client staff and may not modify an audit report to jeopardize their relationship. If you work together for very many years, you create a relationship. It may not be defined, but it's there. You create a relationship. So auditors may become very close to the client and they may not modify the report. In case they find something wrong, they may not point it out, just because they do not want to ruin the relationship that they already have. Then the safeguards to this is rotation of the audit team senior personnel, like always change the key persons on the audit team. Then have an independent partner to review the work. I told you that this point cuts across. Then lastly is that an individual should not be a key audit partner of a public interest entity for more than 7 years. And the individual may be reappointed on the engagement team after 2 years. So those are the safeguards for that threat: senior personnel auditing a client for very many years. And those are the two familiarity threats. There is no formula here because they are just two. Yeah, thanks for watching.